as they told the story, we all had tears rolling down our face, but one of them had tears rolling off of his big beard when he told us of reporting the first week when the new parliament came into session, and he was elected as a parliamentarian, having been in prison under the former regime, and he comes to the elevator in the new building, and the elevator door opens, and standing there as the elevator operator in the new parliament was his jailer for 5 years while he was in solitary confinement under the apartheid regime. The very guy who was his jailer is now the elevator operator. He said the guy's eyes got really big, like, oh my goodness, what do I do now? He said he remembered what Mandela's charge was, and he looked at him, and he smiled at him, and he said, sir, I forgive you. We are fine. We are reconciled. And he said the man smiled. Let me tell you, to me that's character. To me that is character. Because the whole process of learning to be people of reconciliation and being reconciled and learning to forgive is character. Last month I was in Australia. The first Aborigine member of the Australian Parliament's name is Linda Burney. She met with us. Similar circumstance. You may not know, but about 2% of the Australian population is Aborigine. They're native Australians. But not until 1998 were they recognized as citizens. 1998, 10 years ago, were they recognized as citizens. They now have a process similar to what South Africa went through called truth and reconciliation. Part of this issue of character, in my opinion, is you got to know the truth, you got to tell the truth, you got to confess the truth, and then you've got to find reconciliation. I bring this up because in the world today we have great conflicts, great strife, great division. I don't care if you're in South Africa, Australia, Northern Ireland, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Alienation and a lack of reconciliation is at the heart of every conflict in the world today. And people are not willing to reconcile. To the young cadets of the United States Air Force Academy, let me share with you the rule that we try to go by. And I say we because for 14 years, every Tuesday night, I meet in a small accountability group, and we try to hold each other accountable. Relationships are important. Accountability is important. We have the 90-10 rule on reconciliation. If you're 10% at fault, it's your obligation to reconcile. Doesn't matter if the other person's 90% at fault. If you're 10% at fault, it's your obligation to initiate reconciliation. Because if you want to be a person of character, you've got to learn not just to give, but to forgive. To be a person of reconciliation. Some of the great wrongs in our country's past. And our country does more good for more people than any country in the history of the world. President Bush just got back from Africa. Everywhere he went, they treated him like he was a rock star because of what we've done for Africa in the last 7 years. What we've done for Africa for a long time, but particularly in the last 7 years. Somewhat of a contrast to how he is received here in our country today. But it's because those folks in Africa from Tanzania, where I was 3 years ago, where he was in Rwanda, Burundi, Ghana, they appreciate what we have done for them. We continue to do more for anybody. I don't care if it's a tsunami in Indonesia, flooding in Honduras. We are the good people of the world whenever any other country is in need. Doesn't even matter if, frankly, we have good relations with those countries. If they're in need, we help. But our country's not perfect. We have made mistakes. Two of the seminal events in American history that were wrong were slavery and the Cherokee removal. In both cases, a reconciliation process had to take place in order for a nation to heal. These are important principles, I think, of character. The ability to forgive, the ability to initiate reconciliation, the ability to ask forgiveness and stay reconciled one with another. Relationships matter. Whether it's here, whether it's across our country, whether it's corporately in the world, we should be people of reconciliation. Let me also say that I think the beatitude, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the kingdom of heaven, is worth repeating over and over again. Because we should be people of peace. But make no mistake about it, there's a time for peace and there's a time for war. I'm going to close on a note that may be a little off the topic of leadership and character, and quote John Stuart Mill, because when September the 11th happened, I committed it to memory, because to me it says everything about you and it says everything about us. And apparently you know it, because Stuart Mill said, war is an ugly thing, but it's not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling, which I didn't know that. I didn't know you knew that. But let me tell you, the better persons than himself is you. Is you. And those that have come before you. And in these perilous, difficult days around the world, where religious differences threaten our very way of life, and radicalism and extremism are a reality that must be dealt with, people volunteer. They step up and say, I will go. I will fight. I will stand in the gap between this threat and our civilian population, and they are the greatest of American heroes, one and all. And they are you. And they are our veterans. And they are our men and women in harm's way. They are my nephew who is in Camp Bucca in Baghdad today. They are my nephew who will, a week from tomorrow, graduate from boot camp at Paris Island as a Marine. They are every one of you, because someone has to recognize that it's not free. And you got to stand up and fight for it. That's the American way of life. Men and women of the United States Air Force Academy, we need leadership in this country like never before. There is a vacuum. There is cynicism. There are people that want to blame America for everything that has gone wrong. But I do not count myself one of those. We are a great nation. We are a good people. We give, and we go, and we do, and we don't conquer and take lands. As General Powell says, the only thing we ask is for a piece of ground to bury our dead. The United States of America is an experiment in freedom, democracy, self-determination, and it is working because people volunteer. Because people volunteer to stand up and serve their country and put it all on the line for the principles of hope and individual liberty. I'm grateful to you, each of you. It's an honor to be here with you tonight. And I finished 15 minutes early, so we got time for questions. Thank you all, and God bless you. God bless this institution. You can do questions.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.